I'm Phoebe Chongchua. You're watching Live Fit Magazine. We are continuing our coverage on the San Diego International Wine Show coming up at the Del Mar Paddock, April 26th and 27th. You don't want to miss it. We're going to tell you how you can get tickets. But right now, joining me at the La Costa Wine Company in Carlsbad is Charlie Plummer, and you are a certified sommelier with the Jackson Family Wines.
Correct. I am certified sommelier, working on becoming a master hopefully one day.
Oh, that's exciting. Now, you really do have a family-run company, and you have a stable of wines, both local and international.
Yeah, funny you should use stable since we're going to be at the paddocks.
Yes.
We actually have over 30 domestic wineries that fall under our family umbrella, as well as 15 international. And this year we'll be highlighting one of our Italian wineries. We'll be at the show as well this year.
Exciting. Tell me about that winery.
So it's Tenuta de Arceno. It's a Tuscan winery. So we'll be highlighting some Chianti Classico and some single vineyard Strada al Sasso, which is also a single vineyard Chianti Classico Reserva. But I think this year also we'll bring one of our sister wineries from Italy, Donna Olympia, which does some Super Tuscans out of Bulgari. We're also going to be talking about maybe doing a seminar of Super Tuscan wines over at the 14 Hands restaurant.
Wow, I'm glad he had to say those names. I love the Italian accent, too. It just comes on when you're talking about it, right? So very exciting. A lot of people don't have a chance to taste these wines, international wines especially, which is what makes this show so spectacular. Give us an idea of the flavors, the richness of this, and the importance of coming out to a location that's amazingly gorgeous and then being able to sip wines from, Italy and beyond.
Oh, yeah. I think the real great part about having an international flair at the wine show is that you talk about classic styles and you talk about new world modern styles. And a lot of the wineries that will be coming today, you'll have stuff from Mondobe Guadalupe or Guadalupe Valley. You'll have stuff from South America. You'll have stuff from Europe. And the things that we're going to bring in from Europe really are more classically driven winemaking techniques. But what's neat about it is when you come to the show like this, most people, especially in California, we're so California-centric.
Yes.
We drink California wines. I think this really gives a lot of people an opportunity to try what winemakers in the New World, particularly in California, really strive to do, and that's to emulate or create classic wines that are from this region, but they emulate a lot of the old world winemaking techniques. So Italy happens to be one of them, France happens to be one of them, Spain, Germany as well. But as far as the Italian portfolio goes, I think what's neat is that these Super Tuscans that we had mentioned have an international flair. So even though most people, particularly with a California palate, because they like a lot of bright new fruit, they don't gravitate towards Italian wines too well because they're not bright forward fruit, they're very subdued. But Super Tuscans kind of buck that trend, and they have Cabernet and Merlot and Cabernet Franc in their blends. And so I think people that come to this show are really going to be very pleasantly surprised because the transition from drinking New World Cabernet to drinking Old World Super Tuscans will be an easy transition for them.
Whole lot of education at the show as well. Tell me a little bit about the seminars. What can people learn? What key tips will they pick up?
Well, I know this year versus last year, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do how to taste like a master sommelier or how to blind taste, And I'll have a few of my colleagues from around San Diego that'll come and sit, and I'll moderate the panel. And really, it's about the audience learning from these beautiful sommeliers that are found around San Diego and some of the top restaurants in San Diego that'll be divulging some of their secret ninja tricks to blind tasting wines. Some of the other seminars we've done in the past have been historical perspectives on Napa Valley. This year, I was just talking with Donato, and we're going to feature, as I mentioned before, some Super Tuscan wines. So the American consumers, the consumers that come to the show can really learn more about Italian Super Tuscans. We'll have some other panels as well from other winemakers and other sommeliers doing some blending seminars. So I think we might look at a Meritage blending seminar as well, too, where we'll take some of the single components of the Meritage and kind of taste them individually to see what each element brings to a final blend. So that's something to look forward to. But
fun. Oh
yeah, education is a huge piece of what this show's about. We talk about the show being more of a lifestyle show rather than just come drink and eat, which you can do too.
Yes.
But then there's an educational aspect, which I think a lot of people in California really gravitate towards and really appreciate. Having just a little bit more knowledge than the people say in the Midwest.
Right. And Donato, of course, is the person who conceived all of this, the man behind the show. We're going to speak with him as well. Fabulous event. We really look forward to it. Tell me about emerging markets. What are some of the up-and-coming markets not so much, domestic, but internationally, where should we put our sights if we want to taste some really great wines?
Yeah, if you've got an hour, we can do this. But no, it's funny when you talk to a sommelier. They're always looking to engage emerging markets to find really great value, I guess you would say. And I'd venture to say a lot of good value wines right now that are imported into the U.S. are coming out of the Eastern Bloc. So you're seeing stuff out of Bulgaria and Slovenia. Turkish wines, wow. Greece is having a renaissance where the wines are starting to come back. I mean, Greece is one of the founding civilizations for winemaking, and people are just starting to rediscover some of those varieties there. You go east towards the Far East, and China is starting to make wines, and India is starting to make wines. So, the exploration of wines has really become more of a global market, and I think people have their mainstays, and they like what they like to drink as far as the popular varieties, but with an educated palate and people kind of they get adventuresome, they try all these new little fun things, like chocolina from northern Spain. What is that? But that's the fun part about it, is once you've learned and discovered it, it really goes hand in hand with the food. It's so provincial. So if you're a foodie and you like to explore wines, then the food and wine kind of go together, and that's where the real discoveries kind of come out of it, is as we as Americans start to embrace more international foods. In California, we have the best of everything. Why not have some of their wines as well, too, to go with it?
Now, being that you come from a company, the Jackson family company, you have both, as we mentioned earlier, all of the domestic wines and the international wines. Why do you think it's difficult to get international wines into, say, a market like this, into California? I mean, are we just snobs, or what's the problem?
Well, as I'd mentioned before, we like California wine, and California wine it can be kind of hyper aggressive. It can be very fruit forward and big, whereas European wines tend to have less subdued fruits, so they're a little bit more subtle. They're softer. They're reserved. What?
Sexy.
Sexy. Yes, they're all sexy, but they're all sexy in their own way, right? So it's a matter of personality, and what your personality tends to gravitate towards is, I want to be big, and I want to be loud, and I want to be brash, and I want to drink those wines, or I want to be subdued and soft and subtle, and I want to drink those wines. But I think there's a place for every type of wine, and it's really an extension of a meal. So I think that if you extend your meal and the types of food you're having, those will be the choices that you can decide on what types of wine, whether it's New World or Old World. And we will even do a food and wine seminar at the show, too, to help you learn how to do that. So I think that'll be important.
How to match them and what to drink with what types of foods. And because, that can really affect the taste of the wine, or vice versa, the taste of the food. The
taste, the food, your whole persona, your ambiance, your memories. I mean, people celebrate with wine, but people also just have wine as part of their everyday meals. So, wine is an extension of who you are and what you do and how you live. It really is. Like I said, it's a lifestyle. So it's, and I'm happy to say in America, we've become a population that's really gravitated towards more wine consumption, because it's a lighter alcohol choice. It's almost a safer choice than drinking, say, heavy spirits. Not to discount spirits or discount beers, but beers can be kind of filling sometimes too. So wine tends to straddle that happy medium for a lot of people.
And I think you were mentioning that what's also interesting but a delicate situation is how the grapes and the varietals change year after year. It's not the same thing. So you really are in a very demanding position, having to learn and educate yourself. What do consumers need to know about that? I mean, obviously we can't stay as up on it as you, but we can learn a little bit and try to stay up on, the different varieties and things like that. What should we know as consumers who like to drink wine?
Yeah, it is kind of daunting, but the best part about wine, it has such big intellectual properties, and people that are really geeks about wine really want to discuss the merits of vintage versus vintage. And, unlike spirits where you can make that every year, and unlike beer, for the most part, you can make that every year, wine is susceptible to Mother Nature. Oh, Mother Nature, she will give us a great vintage and then she will take away. This year, for instance, we're going through a major drought, especially in Northern California. Maybe we're not so affected here in SoCal, but in Northern California, the vineyard drought is a big issue right now. So, as a consumer, you've got to be very cognizant of what the vintages are going to bring to you so that you're making the right choices, or an educated choice, let's say. 2010, 2011 were very cool. still good quality, but maybe not as prolific as, say, 2012 or 2013, which were highly prolific, highly abundant grape varieties. So, you know, the market will ebb and flow based on availability of grapes. Europe, for example, 2013 was incredibly hot, and they're suffering right now as they're having a heat wave as well, too. So I think what's most important is that consumers really look at vintages where they don't really bother most of the time. They just go with their favorite label or brand or grape variety. But they really should pay attention to vintages because those will ultimately, they'll find the best value for price.
I could talk to you forever.
We need a glass of wine to do that, though, right?
That's right. Does anybody see something wrong with this picture? We're in a wine store talking to a wonderful man who has so much knowledge. Charlie, thank you so much.
Thanks
this
for
has
having us.
been really fascinating. As I said, the San Diego International Wine Show coming up April 26th and 27th at the Del Mar Paddock. What a beautiful location. You are definitely going to want to be there. You can get your tickets now, San Diego International Wine Show.com. Charlie will be there. There will be a lot of great pours from local wineries as well as international. So we hope you join us and watch livefitmagazine.com for your continuing coverage. Thanks for joining me. I'm Phoebe Chongchua.